Welcome to the How to Heal podcast, the show where we explore real life stories and practical tools to thrive. I'm your host, Lindsay Tremarky Richter, and through over a 15-year journey of all things healing, I'm here to hook it up. If you're feeling overwhelmed, looking for a deeper connection, or straight up in a psycho-spiritual crisis, I got you covered. Let's unearth your unique elixir to purpose, peace, and progress. Here we go. What's up, guys? Welcome to another Reelin' and Healin' episode of How to Heal. I'm your host, Lindsay. I'm so happy that you are here. Today, we are talking off the cuff. I'm not even sure I'm going to edit this episode because actually, as I say that, I'm like, is my mic on? Because this is really the last thing I feel like doing today, but I made myself a commitment and you guys a commitment that I will show up weekly until the foreseeable future. So today we're talking about how presence increases awareness. And I'm going to extrapolate the different layers of really what that means. Because I think when I talk about a lot of this stuff, the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual components of healing, those pillars, they really apply on all levels. So let's stop getting so, out there and let's get really specific about what I'm talking about. So we're talking about how presence increases awareness. So that means that if you are not aware of something, you're, never heard of it before, and you learn about it, like AKA you listen to the show and you're like, I never thought about things that way. You start to understand that concept on many different levels. That's the highest level of learning. And I remember I worked in Montauk my whole life growing up with my uncle who owned a marina. And there was this guy, they called him Smitty. And Smitty was a teacher. And he said to me when I was like 12, he was like, Lindsay, when you make the metaphors about what I'm talking about, and then you give a metaphor, that is the highest level of learning. And I was like, oh, he's a teacher, so he knows. That thing that he said just stuck out to me like my whole life, because when we can extrapolate a principle and bring it into another area of life, it's a different level of awareness. It's a different level of learning, and it's a different level of implementation. So when we're interested in a topic, we don't need to go and learn the encyclopedia. I'm dating myself. We don't need to go read up on every single fact to start to integrate it into our life. We just, like, the sheer presence of the information is building our way, baking its way into our being. Another example of this is like when I was in college, I would always carry my books with me everywhere, but I was never reading them. I was just carrying them with me. And I think, that it was just a way for me to hold on to the intention of grasping that information. There was another thing I wanted to say, and when I was in college, I didn't take philosophy, surprise, surprise, but just my sheer exposure to my friends who were studying Nietzsche and all of the big philosophers, I'd be like, oh, that's so cool. Like, I would just pick up tidbits of information here and there. Another example of this is when I first moved into the city with my book hoarding. I went to I don't remember, some magazine store, and I bought a magazine on Buddhism. It was like a Buddhism magazine. I had no idea like what the fundamentals of Buddhism were outside of just like general knowledge, but I kept that magazine for quite some time. And little did I know, I was just starting to incorporate an awareness and start living out a more, a baked in life with those philosophies. So, this is just a promising way to explain to you that, like, if your intention is there, it is baked in. You're not going to lose it. I remember I posted years ago on Instagram, like God remembers everything. The good and the good. It's really we want to, yes, he remembers the bad, but he remembers the good. He remembers your heart's desire. He remembers your yearning to be in touch with the feelings that were so fleeting because you didn't feel worthy to have them. He remembers, she remembers, it remembers everything. It is baked in. So don't feel the pressure to, I mean, depending on your astrological sign, just kidding, but not really. But, if you like to go deep on things, go deep on things. But just know that planting the seed by just simply being exposed to something does a lot more growing than you realize. And that's why I put this content out, because I truly feel that even just the smallest semblance of, oh, I remember that girl who was talking about healing or something and spirituality and energetics and, those types of like expansive thoughts and, that plants a seed in the listener to help because when we have an intention to be better, we're on the way to being better. We are on that path. And, just for me personally, I keep talking about this book that I'm reading. I'm almost done about the patriarchy stress disorder. And last night I'm reading the chapter on motherhood and how mothers are made to feel so guilty, like not good enough, not like, oh, I didn't spend enough time present emotionally for my kid today. I didn't do enough crafts with them. I didn't make them a delicious, healthy, organic, meal or whatever it is. But my intention is to be like a better mother, a better mother, a better mother, a better mother. And I think there is a part of that patriarchy stress disorder complex of, no, I'm not being good enough. But I also think having a second child got very difficult for me because I was no longer able to completely devote 100% of my attention to my firstborn. And then I had to learn how to divide attention. And as a Gemini, it's very difficult for me to divide attention. I don't want to just say socially, but it really applies for me socially. Like, I'm not really great in a group of friends unless all attention is on me. And it's challenging to be a mother and have your energy divided with your kids. So my goal, like one of my intentions, is just to learn how to appreciate both of my kids, and especially my older one, now that we've kind of been through the thick of it when the new one came in and she's like, well, what happened to me? And now I'm able to say, like, I'm not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater here. Like, I can appreciate the subtle nuances of sitting at Whole Foods eating from the food bar with my 6-year-old and looking at her face and relishing in that. So that's just like an intention for me, like to be a more present mother. And I'll tell you right now, and the phone is insanity. The phone is straight up insanity. And I was thinking, I'm like, we were on vacation this past week. My sister had a baby boy. We were so excited. And we went to Mount Snow to go skiing. And we came back to this massive snowstorm. And I really didn't scroll on social, like minimal scrolling on social while I'm with my girls. Because when I'm with my girls, they can tell. They can really tell. So I put my phone down and I make it a point not to look at my phone too much. But why is it that when I put my phone down, I'll put my phone down with my girls, but once I have a second to myself, I'll pick up the phone again? Because I'm still having time for myself. And, the last sort of metaphor I'm going to bring this into on this, which is not really the metaphor of presence equals awareness, although it does apply, but is more like what my intention is to bring presence to. That's what I'm talking about here. I'm coming out with my offer. So if you are listening consistently, I thank you so much. And I am coming out I'm coming out with a new website, with a new offer. I'm helping women navigate transitions in their life. That's the basic overall theory of it and basis of it, and I'll talk more about it in some forthcoming episodes. But writing my website page last night, actually all day yesterday, I was talking about my sobriety journey. And if I relate the sobriety journey to the phone, it's like I chose to be sober to buy back time for me, to buy back time for myself, to buy back time in my energy. And it's the same thing with the phone. Like, we have to learn digital sobriety is my point. So, hey guys, I love you for being here. I show up weekly. I've been showing up weekly for over a year. And I finally got clear enough on my message, who I'm helping, how I'm here to serve. So stay tuned for my new website, which will be launched in the next week. And my new offer, which is a private container where I work with women who this information resonates with. And you guys can always reach out to me at Lindsay Tremarchi or Lindsay Tremarchi Coaching. And yeah, I have some spicy interviews coming up too, so I can't wait to share those with you. Love you so much.